Now, one of the things that we need to still address is that under Add Items to Order, if you remember from last week, we went ahead and we hand-coded a list of inventory items. What we'd like to do is move them out of the form, and move them away from the presentation layer, and move those items into our business layer. So to do that, the first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to twirl close models. I'm going to right click on the class library project and choose Add, New Folder. And I'm going to add a folder called Data. I'll right click again and choose Add, and I will add a class. And this class will represent our product inventory utility. Actually, we'll just call it an inventory utility, and we'll hit Add. So what this class is going to do is it will act as a utility class to help manage functionality within our application. So I'm going to start by making that class public, and then I'm going to create one method for now, and it'll be a public, and it'll return a list of product, and I'll have it be called get inventory. And the goal of this method is to actually just return a list of products. So what I will then do is I'll jump back into my Add Items to Order form. I'm going to copy this block of code, and I'm going to paste it into the body of this method. Now I have a reference here that I need to adjust, so I'll add a using statement for quickly pos.business.models. And what that's going to do now is this method, when I call get inventory, it's going to return me these products that are in this inventory list. So I need to then return inventory. So we're declaring a list up here on line 14. We're then adding products to the inventory on line 16 through 19. And then on line 21, we're returning that list to whoever's calling get inventory. So now if I go back to the Add Items to Order form, and just as a refresher, what's happening here is that when this form loads, the first thing we do is we create a list of inventory items, and then we bind them to a combo box. And that combo box is here to allow us to drop down and choose the product that we want to add to the order. So instead of hard coding this, we're going to take this inventory list and we're going to pull it from the inventory utility. This will require a few steps. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an instance of the inventory utility class, and I'm going to call it the inv-util will be my variable name. It'll be equal to a new inventory utility. I need to bring in a using statement for that, so we'll bring in using quickly pos.business. And now once we have that, we can use this inventory utility variable to populate our list of products here that we're calling inventory. So I'm going to delete this. I'm deleting the declared inventory products within the form, and instead I'm going to call inv-util.getInventory. This is the method that we just created inside of the inventory utility. So this one line of code is essentially calling this block here from line 14 to line 21 and still creating the inventory products. But now we've abstracted the product list or the inventory out of the user interface part of the application, out of the form. So now we could put a different type of user interface, be it a mobile app or a web application, and they would all be able to use the same inventory utility. So now that we have the inventory in place, we can still do the same work of the combo box, setting the data source, and then doing our necessary update product info. So now if we run our app, the actual end functionality will be the same. Click Add Item to Order. I still get a list of products. I can choose one of them and I can add it to my order, and it gets added to the order just the same as before. Now, just to show how all these pieces are connected, I am going to close my form. I'm going to close the sales order item, sales order, product, and my main form. I'm essentially not going to touch my Windows application user interface components. I'm just going to work with the quickly pos.business library. And now since I'm working in here, I'll open up the inventory utility, and I'm going to add another item to my inventory. I'll make the name equal to soccer ball. And I'll set the unit price equal to $7.50. So now what I've done is I've added a new product to our inventory, and I've done it within the class library. I'll go ahead and hit start and let this build. Add product. I can now drop down on product name, and I now have an additional option for a soccer ball. That's coming from the class library that we've linked to our Windows application. I can click add order, and just like before, I can add that soccer ball to my order. So we're now able to extend the functionality of our product without having to touch the user interface or Windows form component. We can now make changes within the business layer, and then in later lectures we'll actually look at how we can then link our business layer to a database through a data access layer and be able to actually pull products out of a database instead of even hard coding them into our application.